If you think of a civil engineer like an artist, really the earth is our canvas.
In reality, civil engineering is something you experience more than you imagine what it is and what it's not.
You know a great project when you see it. There's kind of like an elegance to it in a way.
Civil engineering delivers some of the most wonderful amenities to life.
We are coming in for these small projects, we're coming in for the big projects, but we are really here for the long run.
That is the best way to actually understand a community, is simply be a part of it.
We don't just work with anybody. We want to work on projects that are impactful to the community and just provide a better outcome.
It really just highlights, real people, right? And I love that about our company.
What do you think of when you think of Bolton and Menk? Engineering. Guess what? But wait, there's more.
My name is Lyle Femright. I have been employed with Bolton & Menk for 51 years. I have been involved in multiple facets of Bolton & Menk over the years, and it's just been a rewarding career to work with communities and coworkers in order to come up with solutions to any number of different types of projects.
Bolton & Menk is a multidisciplinary firm. Anything related to public infrastructure, we can deliver. From conception through construction, we've got planners, we've got environmental specialists, we've got surveyors, engineers, traffic experts, communications people, structural engineers, anything that you need to deliver public infrastructure, those talents and expertise are represented at Bolton & Menk.
When you look at how we serve our communities, I'd like to say we are a client-based operation. We're not a project-based operation. Many of the small communities we work in do not have the staff or the available time to try to find funding for the improvements that are needed. We bring our funding team to the client. They work together to find what is available for them to best meet the needs of the community.
Here at Bolton & Menk, sustainability is part of our mission statement. That's what we want to provide, our safe, sustainable, and beautiful communities. And that long-term goal, looking ahead to the future of not only what we're doing now, but what we're providing for those communities many, many years ahead.
One of the most important skills that a planner or engineer has is adaptability. The complex projects don't have a cookbook answer that you can follow step by step towards success. There's always this point in the middle where you're looking around the table at your teammates and you're wondering what you should do next. But I'm lucky to work at a company that has a table full of really smart, passionate, and dedicated individuals that can help us get to the right process, which leads us to the right solution.
I would say when I think about where it all starts with Bolton & Menk, it would have to be the people. When you have great people, people come to work every day, they collaborate well, they're dedicated to each other, they're dedicated to their clients, they're dedicated to really putting forth the discretionary effort necessary to make a company like ours go. So from my perspective, if you have great people, that's kind of when the magic happens.
We're still a relatively small office here in Raleigh, but there's a substantial amount of work going on around here. And so it's great to know that when really good projects come across our plate that we want to be a part of, we don't have to turn those down because we know we can pull in other people. And even though we are that diverse group from all different areas and walks of life, everybody kind of has that one common goal, and it's a pretty uniform company. So we're able to work with people in Minnesota and Iowa and North Dakota. So it's pretty cool.
What makes us unique, what makes us successful, is that we invest in our people to ensure that we figure out what they are good at, what they love to do, and allow them to thrive at work. When our people are doing their best work, they're going to be delivering the best products for our clients. That's what makes Bolton & Menk special.
It used to be much simpler, not better, just much simpler. It's better today because we do have policy intervention in our work. We have a lot of public engagement, people actually telling us what they want their community to be. So my work in transportation is about the roadway, but it's much more than that. And we have recognized early on at Bolton Menk that it's much more about people, how they interact with the systems that we use, and that's been a really good change for our industry.
The communities I served over the years, I am the longest tenured staff now. Now I don't do a lot of day-to-day engineering anymore, but they call me because I'm a historian. We make friends over time in the community, and really we're there for the long term.
When I started 20 years ago out of college, I believe there were probably maybe 10 offices here in Minnesota and in Iowa with maybe 200 employees. So now being close to 1,000 people and north of 30 offices is pretty incredible. We want to be close to our communities that we work in. We are going into these communities for the long term. We are not coming in to work on some great $10 million project and then leaving.
When you work in rural communities, you need to actually be one of them. So I think Bolton Menk is really good at becoming part of the fiber of a community, and in doing that, living in their shoes.
Dude, we got a great story to tell. I mean, we just really do. It's been super inspirational down here in the Southeast because it's like very established in the Midwest, but in the Southeast, it's been new. And it's a nice refresher to see people react to that story and want to be part of the energy, the success, the technology, the holy smokes, you guys got a studio kind of thing. We found people that are super passionate about it, and we'll continue to pass those stories down and that culture because it really resonates, and I think that's a timeless story.
Infrastructure is vital to the success of the community. We at Bolton Menk are problem solvers, and we are committed to that.
Spring was easing into summer in St. Peter, Minnesota in 1949. After nearly 20 years as a university engineering professor, John Bolton worked as a freelance engineer. Martin Menk, a former student of John's at St. Peter's Gustavus Adolphus College, was back in town after a stint in World War II and earning his engineering degree out west. Both were on the lookout for something new. They ran into each other and got to talking shop.
One thing you have to realize about America in the 50s is that we were coming out of a post-World War II.
We were coming out of a very traumatic time, kind of a triumphant time. We started as a country to really come out of that time and do things differently.
Display will tell exactly
significant growth that we were seeing and the need for infrastructure improvements, really helped launch Bolton and Menk and the services that we're able to provide to our communities.
Bolton and Menk helped form my life. We learned everything from those men. They were just special. I always feel good that I knew the original owners. And so they obviously garnered the respect of all these communities. And that's why I think we continued to be the civil engineers and the city engineers in these towns for years and years and years.
I understand that St. Peter is one of the communities we've worked for the entire 75 years, and maybe a handful of others, where there's been a relationship there, but because it matters how you deliver services.
If there's one word that I could use to describe the leadership of Bolton and Menk, it would be courageous. It's amazing to see the foresight that our leaders have had over the generations to see what this company could ultimately become.
John had just a real good sense of humor, a good wit, just a fun guy to be around. He just exuberated energy.
I was fortunate enough to know Martin Menk. He was the ultimate city engineer. He was committed as much as any person I've ever seen in our industry to his clients. Yeah, he was just a great human being.
So the two of them really created a company that had a good foundation. They created a culture that was kind of self-generating.
And and then Bill Sayer was the third president of the company. Bill's a very genuine, kind human being.
Bill was involved in our first debut into the metro area. He created a good example. He had a good way of being with employees in a way where they felt empowered.
I grew up around Bolton Menk. I grew up in this company. My father was John Ripke, the president of Bolton Menk for 17 years. So I've seen a lot of firsthand work that he did, treating people with kindness and with respect. He was a big mentor in my life.
Brad DeWolf and Craig Schmidt are our president and vice president, and I think they've done a great job so far with growing Bolton Menk. I have seen so many offices open just in the last 6 years that I've been here, and growth within the whole company and also within our work group. I think we've been really supported with growing our services and offering more and more to our clients.
Brad and Craig have brought Bolton Menk to a whole nother level. We have expanded not only our footprint, but also I think that's really important is the expansion of our employees, bringing opportunities not only to Bolton Menk, but to individuals as they grow in their careers. That's key in order for people to grow and find meaning and purpose.
I think the main thing I learned from my predecessors was to preserve the culture that we have at Bolton Menk. Craig and I have very complementary leadership skills. We have a great amount of trust for each other. And I will say this, he's one of my best friends.
When you drive through towns in the upper Midwest, or you drive on major roadways in the upper Midwest, it's pretty hard to be in a community or really on a road, even these days, that Bolton and Menk hasn't touched from a project perspective. And as I've seen a lot of projects built over the years, you have that moment in time where you're like, yes, this is what is intended to be here. It interfaces perfectly with the natural environment, it interfaces perfectly with the built environment, and that's really kind of what you're going for.
And so if you look at the infrastructure transformation that's happened within this country over the last 75 years, it's been dramatic. Bolton Menk has been there along the way. We've evolved, and I'd say we're evolving faster today than we were even then, helping communities to build, helping to beautify, helping to plan communities, helping people to live a vibrant life that people want to live in this country.
The commitment to client service, the commitment to relationship community, and grassroots on the ground, knowing your people, knowing the place matters so much. That's how I interpret the history, is understanding what made it successful to date and making sure we don't lose that even as we evolve and grow nationally.
We've grown in the Midwest over the years organically. We're going to start growing in the Southeast organically, and we're also going to grow in the Southwest organically. So with the geographic footprint we have, we can serve about 15% of the population in the United States. And to me, that's very exciting that we can look at 15% of the entire United States population and help the people live in safe, sustainable, and beautiful communities.
So if there's one thing that hasn't changed over the last nearly 30 years that I've been with this company, it's our commitment to our clients. It's the reason why we get out of bed every day. We want to deliver the best possible projects, the best possible infrastructure to our client communities. That's what this company is all about.
Making great places is a core function of the work that we do. Often it is stepping into a place, understanding how things are working now, and understanding how they can be better.
There's so much that goes on in building a community. It starts with a plan.
You work through the funding stuff, you work through all of the configuration related things, you work through the design stuff.
From the people, to the infrastructure, to the natural environment, to the cultural heritage, to our past, to our future. A community really is an ecosystem.
It's through diversity that we become richer richer in terms of human development and creating a culture where there's acceptance and people are free to be themselves.
One thing that I love about the diverse communities that we work in is the different personalities of the clients that we work with and the different personalities of our employees, and finding that right fit to have a great understanding of what their needs are.
When I come into the office every day and I see each one of our employees with their own unique talents and interests coming together and creating something special for a client or for a community, it's a great experience and something that I think each one of us treasures.
It's all about the human endeavor, right? We live, work, and play where you live, work, and play, and that happens so organically.
If you want to wow a commissioner, be interesting. If you want to change a community, be interested in it.
We are helping our clients spend hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you think about the responsibility that we have to the communities that we serve, it's really an awesome responsibility.
If you looked at things just from a revenue perspective, there's certain projects that we would not complete for our clients, and we've never looked at it that way.
If we had to create utopia, what does that look like?
The ideal community really facilitates connections. When you wake up in the morning and you need to be at work, when you need to pick up your kids from school, is the infrastructure there? Is it easy to get there? Every project that we work on has the potential to move the needle in terms of providing for a more sustainable and equitable future.
One thing I've learned throughout my career is that the ideal community is defined differently by every individual. And so I think my answer to that is unique in the fact that I'd say listening is the core component.
You have to understand everything. Take water, for example. Where does the city get their water? Are they in deep wells? Are they in a shallow aquifer? Are they under a river? You got to know all that. How's the availability? So you need to know what the well people know.
We are looking at the project as a whole. So everything that comes into play from a social, economic, or environmental aspect, we want to ensure that those are integrated in and we understand any potential impacts to many of these different areas. So that could be transportation, that could be our natural resources or cultural resources, that could be environmental justice and ensuring that we're not displacing communities.
We're treating our community members as subject matter experts too. They're experts in being in community, of living day to day with things. I always treat it as an honor when we have people who take time from their schedule in their busy life to show up and share with us. That's a gift and something I don't take for granted. They bring something of value that we don't have otherwise. So we can continue to evolve and continue to develop to serve the communities better.
We used to do things simply for the sake of moving throughput. So traffic, cars need to move. And we did a lot of things because of that were not the right things to do.
It was really, we're the city or we're the county or we're the whatever, and we're coming here to do this project, and we'll try to keep you informed as best we can.
We didn't know it at the time, but over the course of about 40 years, things changed dramatically to listening to people and talk to people that have been left out of that process for forever. They've never been asked to be involved in that process. I've been humbled by how much people actually know more about my profession and more about what we should do than I do. I've seen that happen time and again, and the sooner that you figure out that you are not the one that has to solve everybody's problems, other people have a great idea how to help you do that. That makes the job a lot easier, a lot more fun, and frankly, a lot better.
The projects we do for our clients are very complex. They're very expensive. And the more we can educate the public, educate the decision makers, the better the project turns out for the community, and the better the project turns out for our teams working on them. So we don't go into a community to do one single project and leave like the national firms. We become part of the community. We have friends in the community, and really we're there for the long term.
Beyond that, we support a lot of community functions, so whether that is doing a food drive or working with the backpack food program, we strive to support different parts of our community.
You know, there's not a whole lot of occupations that people can have that you can actually make a massive impression on the earth that could last longer than yourself.
And we think about that in our designs, and we're deliberate on, changes that we make to make kind of this better product for everybody.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like sculpting. You look at the stone, you know that there's something in there, you take your time to observe it, and you start cutting away, and pretty soon you have this beautiful result at the end.
With Bolton and Menk being so much more than just engineering, we have this opportunity to create those multidisciplinary integrated project teams to look at alternate solutions. Our community planners, our water resources professionals, our civil engineers, our structural engineers, you name it, somebody here at Bolton and Menk has probably worked on some project in that community, and I think that's absolutely incredible.
That's what causes people to rise to the occasion, is if you can feel that you're part of something bigger than yourself. That's ennobling, that's inspiring, and to think, I could be part of something bigger, cooler than I could ever achieve just by myself. Being part of a team, being part of a company, and part of a value system, it can be something special to people and change the world.
Innovation can be a scary thing, but if you're going to be a serious company, if you're going to be serious about the future, you have no choice but to do it.
The standard that we had 50 years ago doesn't apply today.
We need to be innovative. We need to lean into our projects with creativity and always seek to do more for less.
What can we do better for our communities to help take them to the next level or the next step within innovation or sustainability?
Bolton Menk encourages people to figure out better ways to serve clients, better ways to help people, and those two things go hand in hand.
Seeing people who really care about what they do, and often we're helping communities change and take charge of the fact that they're changing. There's a lot to consider. We're about doing better. We're about delivering the best we can to fix things, to make things better, and certainly change management is at the heart of what we do.
It's amazing to me to think that we're celebrating 75 years now, because I still have my 50th anniversary lapel pin from 25 years ago. So it seems like just yesterday. How have things changed? How do we do things differently? Do we do things differently? I would say why we wake up every day and do what we do has not changed. How we do it has certainly changed. The technology that we've invested in, the creativity of our people, the eclectic nature of our services. We have such a well-rounded approach to projects now, just starting with our engineers, but going through all of our service lines through our communications folks, our creative studio. The way we can deliver projects today is so much more amazing than we did back during our 50th anniversary.
Data is beautiful, and nowadays in the modern world, when you look at kind of a data curve, whoever first starts collecting data, they tend to be ahead of others. And I think Bolton Menk has been in the forefront of that, like what the GIS department has done, as well as other groups in our company. And it's impressive, and it's a huge resource for us as well when we're designing. To be able to pull that information and just have it at our fingertips, we have a step up on a lot of our competitors.
Bolton Menk has evolved, and I'm going to say fairly rapidly, to a firm that is really interested in how communities will look and how communities will feel to people over the next number of years. So if you think about what's going on today, we had a pandemic, we shut down, work from home became an element of our daily lives. Transit was devastated by that. So many things are changing around us so rapidly. We can't formally predict where that's going to go, but we can help communities get ready for that. We have the ability to work with communities, talk to people, plan scenarios that are going to be happening, and really help communities get ready for this, what we think is an uncertain future.
A big part of what we do is we have a holistic perspective in terms of understanding how a community fits together. And I think innovation is necessary. We cannot stand still. We cannot just settle for doing things the same way over and over again. We will be obsolete. There's a balance there. We shouldn't do new for the sake of new. It's not just, oh, this is shiny and new, let's shove the old away. Sometimes the old is better. It really is. We constantly need to be rethinking because places are changing, places are evolving. We can't stand still. We have to run as fast as we can or faster if we're going to keep up with that.
One of the things that we are starting to do this year is looking at utilizing drones for monitoring vegetation, and it's something that's going to be, I think, very revolutionary in that restoration industry, just seeing how can we use technology to save time, save money, save resources.
We have changed the face of wetland banks in Minnesota, changed the performance standards. We have changed the way things are crediting through working with the Board of Soil and Water Resources. I'm very proud of the things we've done and the interchange between state and federal regulators and how we work together to make appropriate changes to make the restoration more successful and also to make it successful on our clients' eyes. Bolton and Menk staff from all over the company, be it the Carolinas, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, are involved in these big projects. It's a pretty awesome feeling to be part of that collaboration.
They have a saying that if you have unlimited money and unlimited time, anything's possible. And I don't think we have that at Bolton necessarily, but we're not scared to invest time and money to initiatives that help us continue to push the envelope on technology and innovation. People are most creative and most innovative when they're doing what they love to do, and that model just perpetuates innovation.
We look towards the future and all the change that we expect. I would anticipate as much as 50% of what I do every single day would be gobbled up by artificial intelligence or automated vehicles. And so I'm constantly thinking about adaptation, and that's what I love about Bolton and Menk. Always trying to be at the forefront of where the market changes. And that's one thing we're trying to accomplish with our Intelligent Transportation Systems group, really trying to lead the industry in that area.
One thing I would say about innovation is if you're going to innovate, you have to have highly technical people on your staff. And we've been fortunate to hire some of the best people in the industry that can really dig in and evaluate different innovative ideas that are presented to make sure we're leading our clients down the proper path.
Innovation in and of itself, it's like going into the beyond. You're trying to anticipate the future, and as a result of that, you're never going to have the data. You're not looking at a data set, you're not looking at metrics, you're really kind of trying to anticipate the future. And you're not always going to get that right. And if you get it right on the 10th time, that means that you found 9 ways not to do it. Failure is just successfully finding one way that it's not going to work. If you stay dedicated through that process and you understand and you have enough confidence and enough faith in yourself, that ultimately you're going to find that way. You're going to find that way that works. At that point, then you know that you're really a true innovator at heart.
As planners, we just don't want lines on a paper to be stored away in a drawer forever. We want to find funding to actually impact these communities and get it built the right way that's going to be there for many generations.
The nature of the work we do in communities is it's never done. And that long-term perspective is something that I really value. You don't finish a community, walk away, fix it, forget it. It's also about thinking, what comes after this? What's the next thing after that and the next thing after that?
Even though we might be working on an infrastructure development project, we want to integrate the natural and cultural environment to ensure that that heritage lives on for future generations.
The natural environment is very complex. It's very important for us to think about ways that we can work with that environment. Ways that we're not maximizing our footprint, we're looking at ways to actually kind of try to minimize that footprint.
So while there are strict regulations, that's really where we start our design, looking at what can we do that is right for the environment. We want to do right in the first place as well.
So that is always our goal, is not to stop a project, to find solutions to get through the problems.
What will this road look like? What will this building site look like? We are really building for the next generation.
I want it to stay that way for my children and my children's children and their children. That's the responsibility that we have as people that actually have an effect on that environment.
You know, when you think about all the different ways that a project as simple as, let's say, a roadway project can impact the environment and really the balance of nature, it's important that we have those experts that are able to go out there and to help us discern what we need to do in order to minimize the impacts on really the way that nature itself is able to perform in those areas.
The responsibility of an engineer is to maintain a sustainable environment. That's where we come together with the civil engineers across the company in the Southeast, Midwest, and others. And that comes through proper mitigation management, proper impact management, and following federal and state laws, but also giving a little pushback when needed in order to ensure that our clients' needs are met.
We are going to listen, we are going to learn, and we're going to lean into those problems and create really interesting solutions to ensure that we're solving our clients' needs for now and into the future.
So my favorite thing that I get to do with my job is see these restoration sites come to light, from farm fields to restored wetlands, and that really is an incredible thing to see. And just getting to point out to other people, hey, look at that bird, or look at that plant that probably hasn't been here for like 50 years.
I've had the Board of Soil and Water Resources tell me that my team is probably the best team that they work with. They're also the weirdest team that they work with because they're so passionate about what they do, and that inspires me to be the best that I can for them.
I don't love trees because of trees. It's kind of a hard one to answer. I don't know, I just find them interesting. There's a lot of cool characteristics about trees. When working with a client, we're trying to help them understand what they need to help those trees survive and to thrive in the future for the community.
At Bolton Menk, longevity and sustainability are one and the same. Are our downstream waters being protected? Are our stormwater quality needs being met? What does the existing footprint have to offer?
Environmental engineering deals so much with water quality, whether it be water systems, water treatment systems, elevated storage. The number of different designs that have been evolved over the last 20, 30, 40 years has been significant.
When we talk about environmental stewardship, one thing we did at Bolton & Menk was brought on Fortin Consulting, and they specialized in environmental preservation from the perspective of how communities use salt and chlorides for ice control in the winter. So instead of use the salt and try to sweep it up before it gets into the waterways, we are working on design components that prevent them from having to salt in the first place.
What we're really trying to do at the end of the day is find that balance, that interface between our projects and the built environment and the natural environment. That's where you find the best projects, are the ones that are able to lay on top of the environment in as seamless a way as possible. And as a company, we're dedicated to trying to find ways to minimize that overall footprint and the environmental impacts that some of these projects may have. And actually, in a lot of ways, to make them even better. And you know, that's one of the great things that we have, is the ability to be able to do that on a regular basis.
We accomplish this through a multidisciplinary collaborative approach. We assess factors such as air and water quality, biodiversity, land use, along with socio and economic impacts. We believe in proactive and sustainable solutions to complex projects.
We have subject matter experts and the professional archaeologists and architectural historians. And they are really looking at things from that cultural resources component, from pre-contact, pre-European times up through current and more historic. And when you think historic, I technically could be an historic resource. So we start looking at 45 years and older and identifying how that could come into play, and is that potentially eligible for registry through the National Register of Historic Places.
We try to find ways to make the past more than just a history book, but to kind of bring it into the present, you kind of get like shades of the past overlapping each other within the same landscape. So at one point it's like divorced by time, but at the same time it's united by the landscape. So it's all there in one.
There's stories to be told, and there's stories to be preserved, and cities will be enriched for it if they take those into account in their projects.
I feel really fortunate to work at a company that has very strong values and morals. I have a son, and so I am really hoping that the work that we're doing every day is creating a good future. Bolton & Menk is doing a lot of different things that other firms are not doing. Our goal is to provide as much restoration and as much protection to natural resources as we can.
One of my favorite quotes from Aldo Leopold is, "If we lose our wilderness, we have nothing left to fight for." I've always loved that one.
One of the big reasons why I came to Bolton & Menk is because I see the development of essentially a super team. I see the most talented folks joining forces to really create the biggest and the best projects, and that was something I really want to be a part of.
At the end of the day, we are shaping communities into the future, and that is kind of the underlying theme of everything that we're doing here. We hire people that come in, and when they are here, are working really hard, and the only way to get those people is to hire people that are passionate about what they're doing. We're deliberate about who we hire, and we spend a lot of time in that hiring process getting to know people, learning about their life, what they enjoy, and what their values are.
Our culture is based on liking your coworkers. I mean, we get along as teams, we work well together, we collaborate together, and we have some fun together.
I'm a true believer that good people find good people, and good people find good clients and good projects, and I think that story resonates about the good people we have. We're not all exactly the same. We're not all politically driven the same way or do the same skill sets, but we're all good people.
Whether it be for our clients, whether it be for our teammates and the people that work for us, from my perspective, really the sky's the limit as far as what we're going to be able to accomplish. When you put all of that together and you're well organized, I think that the future is exciting in pretty much every way it can be at Bolton & Menk.
If I could look into the future 75 years from now, I would really hope that a lot of the quality of life disparities that exist today, that a lot of the environmental degradation we see today, a lot of that has been mitigated, is what I'd really hope to see in 75 years. And I think 75 years from now, when we do see those improvements, I think we can look at Bolton & Menk as one of the champions in getting that done.
I think what I'm most excited about is the opportunity to do projects in a way and do work in a way that's different and better. And that's an exciting challenge to rise to, and I think having a great team that you can collaborate with is an important part of that path forward. I'm impressed by the talent we can get, and I'm impressed by if you create an environment that respects and supports people, it brings out the best in people too. I'm grateful for the days when I can see people around me shine and be examples of what a professional can be.
What excites me about the future is that Bolton & Menk is literally paving the way for the future. Infrastructure improvements that we're working on are going to be here for a long time, so we need to make sure that we're working our hardest to get those solutions right. And how can we minimize the pipe that we're putting in the ground? How can we do some additional surface treatment to stormwater? Looking at things from the sustainability lens is really important to look at these projects and how they're going to live long into the future. So really making sure that we understand that what is happening out in the community and bring that back into our organization, understand what our organization needs as well to continue to grow and evolve to best serve our employees. I've really appreciated that leadership and that commitment internally as we've continued to grow.
If I could give one piece of advice, make sure you're having fun. What we do at this job can be fun, and it should be fun. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that make you happy, because that actually is what this business is all about. We should be having fun at this. That takes a lot of trust. When you trust in the people that are around you, when you trust the team that you have surrounding you, there's really nothing that we can't do.
The one thing I want you to always keep in mind from my experience is be true to yourself, use common sense, do what you know you can do best, and it does all tie together.
You know, I've been in this industry long enough to know that we've got something really special here at Bolton Menk. In fact, cumulatively, every project that each of us has worked on over the years, over the decades, has already made a difference in this world. And I'm really excited about the next generation of Bolton Menk staff that will continue this legacy work that our company has been doing now for 75 years.
For the next generation, do great things. And whatever that looks like to you, everybody has their own path. What is your end goal? Are you on your path to that end goal? And if you diverge and go off on this direction for a little while, that's okay. That's going to build even more personal experience for you to then connect even better with the folks you work with in the future. Why do you want to get up in the morning? Once you can figure that out, work towards it.
Really, lastly, staying dedicated to our why statement. That we've touched on that guiding principle of believing we should all live in safe, sustainable, and beautiful communities. And as long as we have those guiding principles, have that work ethic, and then the second thing you do is you commit to working hard for them every day. That's really another thing that is driven by our culture. It's sort of in our DNA in a way as a company, that we have people that really come to work every day working very hard. Our commitment to our clients is what's gotten us to this point. It's part of who we are, and frankly, it's not going anywhere.